I'm so excited to be making this video for you today, and that's why I have my phone here with a bunch of notes because I'm sick of people gatekeeping this. So if you want to know what it takes to actually start a clothing brand, then sit down and let's dive in because this is the video that you do not want to miss. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Start Your Fashion Business channel. My name is Stephanie and I am the host of this channel. If you want to learn about all things fashion business, then you have come to the right place. I'm a brand owner too, and I've also built an ethical garment manufacturing company, and I'm a brand mentor. So since 2013, I've helped over 1,500 brands. And I started this channel to help you with your brand so that you can create a successful and profitable fashion brand too. So don't forget to subscribe to this channel. And also, if you want, follow me on Instagram at Start Your Fashion Business for daily fashion business tips. So this video, I've been thinking about making it because I just feel like you guys really need to know what it takes to actually start a clothing brand, especially in today's market, right? Because I think oftentimes people that want to start a brand, they think it's very easy, or they almost think like, oh, it's just this, right? No. So let's talk about what you actually need to do to start a brand. So obviously, you need to come up with a brand name. This is something that you kind of want to tick off, because if you don't have a brand name, then everything else sometimes doesn't make sense. So you really want to find a brand name to really represent what your brand is going to be like. Now, once you have that name, of course, you want to secure it everywhere. You want to get the domain, you want to go on Instagram, on TikTok, even on YouTube. You want to go everywhere and make sure that this name is available, and preferably that you don't have to add something like clothing or the label or something at the end, right? You really want to secure that as soon as possible. Now, of course, securing that means that you also want to invest in trademarking, because again, like, you're treating this as a business that is going to be successful. So you don't want to cut corners. I'm not even going to go into all the horror stories of people that have cut corners. Maybe I'll save that for another video. But the point is, you really just want to secure it. You want to secure it everywhere and make sure that you have the right to use that name for your business, okay? And then what you really want to also do is to really understand your customer. I think at this point, a lot of people jump a few steps ahead and they're like, oh, like, I just want to start designing. And it's like, okay, let's reel it back here, because we don't want to design stuff if we don't know who it is that we are catering to. In this particular point, you really want to dive deep. Like, you really want to know who your customer is and actually create different avatars for them and like name them and really understand like their pain points, like putting yourself in their shoes so that you can literally, before you design, be prepared. Like, what is it that they're gonna like? What is it that they're looking for that is not yet in the market that they want to spend money on? So that's why this is so very crucial that you know this, so that you can create your brand strategy around this and design products around this. And not only that, this is going to help you with your marketing too, because once you know who your market, or like who your ideal customer is, then you will understand like, where are they hanging out online. And the reason for that being is because you also want to start marketing your brand before you launch. So this is going to help you pick the right platform to start your marketing so that you can get in front of them already. Okay, now let's get to the fun part, the design part. So obviously, a lot of people, like, the reason that they want to start a brand is because they have like some design idea that they think is cool, that, you know, they want to create their brand for, which is great. But like I said, you really need to know your customer, right? Is it something that they're going to like too, not just you? But if you've already got that down, you definitely have to now finalize your designs, right? Or start that process if you haven't done so. And there's a couple of ways that you can go around and do this. So obviously you can do it yourself, because if you do it yourself, you're going to save not just time, but also money at the beginning. And that's crucial when you're a new brand. You want to save like, well, as much as of the capital as possible so that you can stretch it. So if you can do that yourself, then that's awesome. Not like, even for me with my brand, I design a lot of like my stuff at the beginning myself. Like, of course, I worked with a pattern maker because I'm not technical, but I had the idea and the vision, and I also knew how to basically translate that vision into like a sample, right? Now, if you don't know, you can certainly work with a designer or with a manufacturer that does like a full package service where they can help you like design before you start sampling. But this is something that is a crucial step that a lot of people like spend a lot of their time and their money on this particular step. Now, the thing is, if you do work with a designer or a manufacturer, but you don't really have like a strong concept, then of course you're probably going to spend way more time going back and forth, and also more money if you kind of don't know what it is that you want to make. You get what I mean? Because if you're like wishy-washy about the design and you keep changing your mind, you're like, you know what, I don't want to do that top with that fabric, I want to change it with this. Or maybe you're like, I'm not happy with this particular color, can I sample this? All of those decisions is just gonna add more time, but also it's gonna take more money out of your bank, because for each of those decisions, when you have to resample and resample, you're going to have to pay for those samples. So that's why when I say you need to kind of know what it is you want to design, you really need to like be crystal clear with your vision and either hire people to execute it or do it yourself. But if you don't come from a design or fashion background, how do you do it, right? Well, the thing is, I've come up with a way that even if you are not a designer, there are certain ways that you can communicate your like design concepts visually, especially if you're working with like a manufacturer. And I have included that inside the brand incubator program, which basically like you can be a newbie and be able to design a collection even if you're not a designer. And inside there, I also added a module where you can learn how to give like fit notes. And fit notes are basically like when you receive a sample and you're doing a fitting, and you need to then communicate back to your manufacturer whatever changes you want to make. Like being able to submit the proper fit notes will really help speed up that process moving forward, so you can actually get your samples approved. But a lot of people don't know how to provide the right fit notes. So if you don't know how to do that, it's all inside Brand Incubator too. This step is absolutely crucial, because if you don't master that, you're gonna get stuck in this endless loop of like sampling and sampling and sampling and then never going into production. Or maybe you miss your like cutoff date, and like, for example, you want to launch a swimwear brand. So if you want to launch a swimwear brand, right, you don't want to launch in December, which is like in winter. So you want to make sure that you're not missing your sample cutoff day, which is earlier in the year, so that you can then go into manufacturing, because manufacturing takes a few months as well. So you have to be able to like manage your time, be able to plan out like 6 to 12 months in advance, and understand like the critical dates that you need to hit if you want to be able to launch successfully. So that's why learning how to design and learning how to like work with manufacturers efficiently is very, very key. Okay, even with the manufacturer, oftentimes like as a new brand, you want to find like a low MOQ manufacturer. And a lot of these manufacturers, they have some crazy MOQs, and you're basically sourcing and spending maybe possibly even months in sourcing. And that is gonna, of course, affect the timeline of your launch, right? So it is very important for you to be able, like I said, to manage the timelines and to stay on target so that you can like start your samples and not miss like a delivery date. So a lot of brands, they gatekeep like which manufacturer they're using. And of course, I understand. Like they don't want to give their like special recipe out to another potential competitor. So that's why if you're right now looking for a manufacturer and you're looking for like a low MOQ, premium, high quality manufacturer that can even do ethical and sustainable manufacturing, then I'm leaving a link in the description below so you can contact them and see if this is something you guys can do together, because I just want to save you time. Honestly, just want to save you time. And especially if you're making a swimwear brand or a women's wear, like contemporary, casual brand, or maybe even a streetwear brand as well, you want to check out that manufacturer. The only thing that they don't do are leather, denim, sequins, and like winter clothing, but anything else they should be able to do. And I hope this is going to save you time, because if you have not found a good and reliable manufacturer, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to start sampling, and of course if you don't sample, you don't get to manufacturing and all of those things. Like this is a huge checklist that you need to tick off if you actually want to start a clothing brand. Okay, another thing that you have to think about is like, how are you going to sell, right? How are you going to sell your brand? Are you going to be doing everything through your online store, or are you going to also approach other stores and try to sell through them? Or maybe you're going to just focus on TikTok. There are so many ways that you can sell your brand now, which is very, very exciting. But as a new brand, you can't do it all. You know, you just can't, especially if you're like a one person show. So again, this goes back to your customer, right? Really knowing who they are, like what are their shopping habits, like where are they buying stuff, right? That's basically the sales channels that you want to focus on, because you can, at the beginning, of course, like your online store, you want to have that set up and everything, but maybe you also have a TikTok shop. Who knows if your customers are on TikTok? But you want to make sure that you're visible, that it's easy for them to purchase your stuff, okay? Because the easier that it is for them, the closer they are to actually making the purchase, and the closer you are to, of course, making the sale, right? Like I had a brand owner, she is launching a brand, and she was like, oh, I wanted to offer like custom sizing and this and that. And I was like, look, is your customer right now, like, do they care about that? Because if they don't care and they have to submit their sizing, or like kind of like download this AI tool and all of these things, like you're giving them like 3 extra steps instead of just adding to cart. So again, you want to simplify this process. And if maybe later down the line you want to add on additional steps, that is fine. But at the beginning, your goal is to launch and make the sale. Okay, so up next, what else do we have? Marketing. Marketing is so important. And I think a lot of brand owners think that you need to have products before you can actually market your brand. And that's so completely wrong, especially now. I see it, so many brand owners build their brand on TikTok, and they're like literally their brand blows up when it launches, and sometimes even before they launch, because they've already built like an engaged audience and like community surrounding their brand. So you really want to do that. You want to do that from day one, honestly. Like from that, what did I say? When you secure your brand name, right, and you make your TikTok account, like you want to essentially start posting from that time. And it's actually also a way that you can hold accountability towards yourself, because if you're posting every day and you're putting out content telling people that you're building your brand, then you have to build the damn thing. So you can't back out. So it's actually a very good accountability tool, apart from like a great marketing strategy, obviously. But you really need to incorporate this, because this is the way of building a brand now in 2024. Like this is that last piece that, you know, a few years ago, you might not need to do that. Like when I started my brand, I didn't have to do that. We didn't even have Instagram. Like, yeah, Instagram launched, I think, a year or so after my brand. And back then, people were just freaking posting their food photos and putting a silly filter on it. They weren't using it the way that we're using it now, right? But like TikTok is such a great tool to showcase that particular part of like building your brand and sharing your story. And people are really eating up that type of content right now. So why not jump on board, right? I mean, who knows what is going to be in store for 2025? But if you're building a brand now, that's definitely not something that you want to miss out on. Build your brand in front of your audience. Okay, now the last piece, and this one, it could be quite controversial, but I really think that you also need to give a crap about your personal brand. Because if you are building your brand in front of your audience, you as the founder, you need to care as well about your personal brand, because your personal brand will essentially tie with your fashion brand, which has a lot of course, pros and cons to it. So let's talk first about the pros, because the pros are that people are going to like, gravitate towards you because there's a person behind the brand. So it's a great way to like build trust. And when there's a lot more trust, there's going to be a lot more sales as well. But the downside of that is a couple of things, of course, like like you have to share your personal life. And with that comes like being vulnerable. And when you're vulnerable, especially on the internet, it can be scary, right? But I also see that when you are vulnerable on the internet and you share like both your wins and your lows, it can really, really speed up that process of not just trust, but being able for like your brand to blow up. Like I really, really see the creators, I mean, not just creators, like they're obviously creating content, but they're actually like brand owners that are creating content and sharing their journey. They are the ones right now that literally like they can drop their collection and it sells out. So, that comes with vulnerability, but it can be scary, but there is, high reward. And so when there's not a lot of risk, there's also not a lot of reward. So perhaps this is a risk that you want to consider if you really want your brand to blow up practically for free. Because the great thing about utilizing like TikTok and social media platforms is that you're not spending any money on ads. Later on, of course, ads is something that you want to do, but that's for another video. But I hope this video helps, because I think I covered a lot already. And I mean, I can go on and on, honestly, but I really don't want to overwhelm you. And honestly, if you can just focus on these things that I mentioned in this video, that's how you start a brand. Now, of course, it's always helpful to get guidance, to get mentorship, to get that accountability and support. And if you are in that boat right now where you are about to launch a fashion brand, but perhaps you're like, you know what, I want to know if I'm doing the right thing. Like, I want to make sure that these manufacturers are not taking me for a ride. Like, I want to have my hand held a bit. If this is you, I also want to share two things that can help you. Number one is my brand incubator program, which is my signature program to help you start, launch, and scale your brand. This is a group program that I launched back in 2020 and has helped hundreds and hundreds of brand owners just like you to create multi-six-figure fashion brands. And if you're the type of person that maybe a group program is not really for you and you prefer like one-on-one, my mentorship is also open right now. I'm taking one-on-one clients that I can basically support in their journey of starting, launching, and scaling their brand. So if this is you, I've left a link below. There's going to be a link for the brand incubator program and also a link to apply for my mentorship if one-on-one is more of your thing. I understand not everyone likes to be in a group program. That is fine. If you want to work one-on-one and that's an investment that you're willing to make, all the links are below. And I hope to see you in the next video. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram too, at Start Your Fashion Business. It's the same handle. And there I share daily fashion business tips. Otherwise, I will see you next week.